Hi, this is Kevin for Passion for the Word. We're going to continue our study on the Sermon on the Mount. One of the things to really pay attention on is so much of this is stuff that was covered in the Old Testament law, but it's the Old Testament law plus more. It's with teeth. For example, we are at Matthew 5:27. We're going to cover 27 through 30, covering the topic of adultery. Ye have heard that it was said by them of old, thou shalt not commit adultery. Okay, and that's what the Old Testament said. But I say unto you, this is Jesus talking, that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. And if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out, and cast it from thee, for it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell. And if thy right hand offend thee, cut it off, and cast it from thee, for it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not that thy whole body should be cast into hell. So we're talking about pretty serious stuff here. We're talking about hell. This is Jesus. He's talking about hell. So let's back up and go through this. You have heard that it was said by them of old, thou shalt not commit adultery. Adultery, by that definition, would have been sex outside of, if you're married or they're married and you're having sex with someone other than your spouse. And he's saying that's what you've heard. That's what you've been told. But the next verse starts with, but I say unto you. And he's going to take that law and he's going to take it up. Not just, you don't have to commit the physical act. Just the mere thinking about it is enough to be guilty. That's what he says here. Verse 28, but I say unto you that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. So if you're looking at a woman and you start lusting after her, now there's nothing wrong with being attracted to a woman. That's natural. In today's society, you can't even go to the grocery store without seeing low-cut tops and short shorts and stuff hanging out. Seeing it isn't the sin. Staring at it, fantasizing about it, checking it, all that, looking for it, that's the sin. When you see that, you should divert your eyes. And if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out. Now, I've heard people say, well, this is just a metaphor. He doesn't really want you to pluck it out. And I'm going to say that's halfway. What he's saying is, if you can't, because we're going to go on, if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out. What's the next one? First of all, we're back up a second. Whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after has committed adultery in his heart. So it starts with the look. Then it goes to the eye, and not to be gruesome, but the hand. We're talking about lust in this section. Eye to hand. I don't think I need to get any more graphic than that. I think you see where that's going. But he says, if you can't control yourself, you'd be better off to get rid of it. Get rid of the eye, get rid of the hand. If you couldn't control yourself, you would be better off cutting off your hand than to keep your hand and continue in sin. I don't think that's a metaphor. Granted, Jesus doesn't want you to cut your hands off. He wants you to control your behavior. He wants you to stop sinning. Not cut your hand off so you merely can't sin, or pluck your eye out so you can't see to sin. He wants you to get your sin nature under control as much as possible. Now, there are a few things about this passage. I take this passage as one of the proofs, and the Old Testament, where it talks about adultery being a sin, or sin outside of marriage, or sex outside of marriage being a sin. As far as I'm concerned, that's evidence that the Bible was not written by man. Because what man is going to write a rule that says sex is a sin? No pagan religions. I don't know of any other religions that call sex a sin. Most of them, actually, sex is a big part of their religion. In the Islam, sex, the man is completely helpless to it, and that's why they make their women cover themselves up, because they don't expect the man to make any attempt to behave. They put it all on the woman. In Christianity, we are to be in control of ourselves. We are to be able to resist the temptation. But just the fact that it's in there tells me a man wouldn't have put this in there. A man would have put in there, you know, hey, have as many women as you can, you know, you should have at least a new person every week, something like that. But a man is not going to write, you can only have sex with one person, that's your spouse. A man is not going to put that in there. And not just one man, but this is a consistent thread throughout the Bible over the course of its being written. And there's no deviation from it. You are not to have sex outside of marriage. I just don't see that as being something that a secular man is going to put in. I see that as evidence of God. One other thing that I found in this that I found really thought-provoking. I use several different commentaries, and one of them is one of the oldest ones around, the Matthew Henry. And what Matthew Henry had to say on this passage, I thought was interesting. He wrote this in the early 1700s. And I quote, "And if looking be lust, they who dress and deck and expose themselves with design to be looked at and lusted after are no less guilty. Men sin, but devils tempt to sin." You take from that what you want. My take on it is, men are responsible for their sin of lust. Women are responsible for trying to be lusted after. If you're a woman watching this, or if your daughter dresses in such a way that's going to fuel a man's lust, or a boy's lust if it's your daughter, she's guilty of a sin herself. Paul Washer has a great line. I love it. He says, if your clothing accentuates your face, God is pleased with it. If your clothing accentuates your body, that's sin. You're feeding lust now. There's nothing wrong with having a pretty face, but you shouldn't be wearing clothes in such a way that really bring out your body. That's going to, at least not in a lustful fashion. But that's it on this passage. I go much deeper into this in another video, and we'll be putting a link to that at the end of this. I'm not sure if she'll put it up here or she'll put it on an end screen, but we will have that in the end. Don't forget, if you haven't done it already, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like and share this video, hit the like button, do all those things that you know how to do. We appreciate it. Keep praying for us, and God bless.